Howdy, brothers.
Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Water.
I'm your co-host, Jess.
And I am your co-host, Liv. I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday or whatever day you decide to listen to this, but we are going to have an amazing week. We have an amazing episode, and things are just looking good on
Things
our
are looking
end.
good.
Things are looking...
Things are looking up, brothers.
I mean, they've been looking up.
Yeah, but y'all know we've had some rough patches. We've had some dips, but we are currently on a roller coaster, and that roller coaster is going up.
Things are going well. I mean, I feel pretty organized. I feel good. Like, we're in a good place.
I feel like business women.
Yes.
Like, we're implementing like CRM. We're getting on Slack thanks to Abby.
Yeah, 100%.
And speaking of, Abby is today's guest, and she is just such an inspirational boss-ass bitch. She owns her own creative agency here in South Florida. We know Abby from years of modeling, and then we kind of worked. We did a little bit of work for her through like photography for Mood, and then we kind of just been working like.
Well, first she had hired us as models.
Oh, was that what we did?
That was the first thing we did with her. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
And then she had you shoot some of this stuff, but we've been friends with her, and she's honestly been such a big inspiration for us, and everything she does is just done so tastefully and so well. And she honestly knows a lot about business. A part of her creative agency is consulting and branding consulting, and I mean, she just has a lot of knowledge to share with us. We have a really great conversation just about like
she scaled this from ground zero completely by herself. So
it's crazy. So, I mean, some of my favorite things that we got into is like building a team. We really talk about that and like the type of people you want to look out for when you're hiring. Really valuable part of the conversation. And we talk about competition, which is huge because us and her, I mean, we're both creative agencies. So that could lead to like a nasty type of relationship. But we've found a way to navigate that, although it wasn't easy at first. Because she started first and we started Mood, and we had some really honest conversations with each other, but we got past it, and we're collaborating in really fun ways and seeing how we can benefit each other and help each other grow and inspire each other. And it's just really cool. And it goes to show that
empowered women empower women.
Totally. And it goes to show that, there's enough winning for everyone here. So not everyone that you come across is going to be your competition. You can make friends with them. You can help each other, learn from each other, and grow together.
Yeah. But before we get into the episode, we would like to thank our show sponsor, Holding It Down, Celsius.
Y'all already know. Today I'm drinking raspberry acai green tea, non-carbonated.
That's a new one for you. For you specifically.
It is, because I'm actually not a fan of carbonation, but Celsius I enjoy because it's not like so carbonated.
Yeah, but it's really nice.
It's nice to take a little break. So I got some green tea, non-carbonation going down.
A lot of people really enjoy the non-carbonated. Personally, I like the fizz. I like the pop. I am drinking sparkling watermelon today.
Malone. It is no high fructose corn syrup, no aspartame, no preservatives, no artificial colors or flavors.
And you love to see it, brothers.
Yeah, I mean, this is my go-to. I definitely brought some to Georgia with me. You already know. I had it in my golf cart.
You know the vibes.
It was keeping me going through a 4-hour golf game with Tyler.
Tell us a little bit more about Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Well, link in description if y'all want to check out Celsius and know what the hype is about. And Abby was drinking it, too. Our guest was on the way,
of her own recognizance.
Yeah, I mean, so that just goes to show. So Georgia was great. Had a great, nice long weekend with Tyler. We kind of got away into nature, disconnected, and it was lovely.
I mean, from the little that you shared, it looked lovely. And you took Ellie, which was so fun.
So fun. It was her first vacation, and it was really her vacation. We were just there, to take pictures and be her parents, but she was the real star.
How was it?
It was great.
What'd you guys do?
I mean, the 10-hour drive is a little rough, but I will say for 3 full days, I feel like it was worth it. We hiked a really cool waterfall. Did you see that waterfall?
I did.
Can you believe that's in Georgia? That's the biggest waterfall I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Georgia's got some gems.
Amicalola Falls. So that was fun.
Got some weird ass names too.
Yeah, that was fun. It was a good little mile hike, and she did great. She took a cool little picture in her glasses. And then we did golfing the next day for Tyler because he's in love with it, and that was the best day of his life. He had just such a blast. Just me and him, golfing. I was just driving the golf cart.
Naturally, being,
Well, also the course was $95 per golfer. So I was like, I'll sit this one out. I'll just watch. For me to hit a few balls, it was not worth it.
Golf courses are ridiculously expensive for no reason.
It was also like on the top of these hills with a creek going through it. We saw a deer while we were playing. Yeah, it was like it was nice. It was honestly really cool.
Oh, good.
And then the third day we did another really cool hike to like this huge river that they have. I'll post a little, what's it called? A photo
Teaser?
dump. No, I'll post a dump at some point.
A dump.
Today or tomorrow, but it was really great. Lovely to get away. The food we had was awesome. The one thing I will say, which wasn't great, and you know, it happens, but our Airbnb was like, the cabin was great, the location was great, the property management fucking sucked.
Really?
The porch was dirty when we got there.
What kind of dirty?
Like, just no one cared to clean it up. Like, it was just like, you know, it's outside furniture. But if you're paying a cleaning fee, that shit should be clean. I shouldn't have to dust it off myself.
Hundo P.
Just wait. Oh, this was just wait.
I'm gonna get mad.
Oh, you're gonna get mad.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna get mad.
I'm buckling in.
Strap in, brother. Okay, so we get there, and then their main thing is like this hot tub. One of the reasons I booked it, it's their main profile picture is the hot tub, right? Looks great.
Get a refund.
You know, right? Okay, so like it looks clean enough, whatever. It's like the whole cabin is like, I felt like I was from the 90s. It's like remote, house phone, which is fine. Totally cool with that. But the hot tub also is from the 90s, and you can kind of tell, whatever. Don't care. I'm not that high maintenance. But the second day, we're like looking forward to it. It's chilly out. I had sent it. I set it high, 104, right? Put our bathers on. We get in there and the lights are on, right? There is just shit floating in the not human shit, not like literal shit. I mean like little just. It was just dirty. Just dirty.
Like
I don't
algae.
even. Yeah, algae floating everywhere. Like nothing is a fucking buzzkill like that. And it felt
that
so
breaks
good.
my heart.
It was so hot. And
so it did get hot.
Yeah, which was worse because like it felt so good. But then you look down. I mean, Tyler had submerged his entire body before we realized.
Gotta see it through.
And then I was in and I was like inching my way in and I was like, I can't even enjoy this because it's dirty.
Did you take pictures?
Oh yeah. So right, that happens, and then I call them the next day. I'm like, hey, I have this idea. Can you guys just come clean this? Like,
I have an idea.
And then
come do your fucking job.
They give me. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a rant here, but they give me shit because they're like, oh, we're just wondering why you checked in Thursday and you're just now deciding to call. And I was like, well, because I was gonna write a bad review, but I thought I'd give you a chance to make up for it. And
they're
whatever.
giving you shit.
Just wait.
Okay.
It gets worse.
Nope.
Right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. The next day, a cleaner comes. One table was wiped off. The hot tub looked a little better. Whatever. Still, a lot of the stuff that I sent pictures of wasn't cleaned up. Oh, and there were like some little cobwebs in the shower. I'm just, you know.
Did you take pictures of it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Love it.
So the last day, right? They make up for it. Okay, they came. They tried to have someone come out. The last day, the last night, Tyler goes, we ran out of toilet paper. I'm like, okay. He's like, I can't find anywhere. I'm like, just look, Tyler. It's in front of your face. And then I go to look. No toilet paper under the sink, in the kitchen. I look in all the closets. Nothing. So I text the guy, hey, where does this cabin keep the extra toilet paper? Like, you know, we're out and we're just looking for some. I'm already annoyed that there's not any in plain sight. He goes, our cleaners are instructed to leave one toilet paper per bathroom. And I'm like, so for 4 nights and 5 days, you guys expect me
two people
to use one toilet paper? And he sends me a screenshot of the fucking reservation details and how it says that they supply a 24-hour supply of basic necessities.
Toilet paper is not a basic fucking necessity.
I'm like, you know what I told him? I said, okay, I'll just wipe my ass with my hands.
You said that?
Yes. I said that.
I cannot.
Can you believe that? Is that not the most... Oh, I am...
Are you writing a
I'm going to
review?
destroy them on Facebook, on Yelp, on Airbnb.
And it's a property management company, not like the house owner, right?
That's the thing. Like, Airbnbs are so much better when they're managed by a person, by an owner.
Because they take pride in their fucking work.
But when it's property management, like, they just have so many properties. But I'm like, toilet paper? You're going to deprive people of toilet toilet paper.
Like, y'all are cheap as motherfuck. That's crazy to me. I cannot. He's like, we actually don't provide hand soap because it's a basic necessity.
When I tell you I was fuming, I was fuming. This was like my last straw. I was like, I could not believe it. I told him I will wipe my ass with my hand. Mind you, at
you
this
guys
point,
get 1 fork and 1 spoon.
That I get. Shampoo and conditioner, bring your own. I get. I'm like, you expect me to show up to my vacation with a 6-pack of toilet paper? Like, give me a fucking break. I'm gonna rip them in fucking new asshole.
And you know, had they been like nice about it, like, oh my god, we had no idea that we were low on toilet paper, but like that's just not even the case. That's crazy to me.
Insane. They expect people to bring their own toilet paper on their vacation.
That's crazy to me.
And not, mind you, at this point, I had to take a shit. So I was
no.
Mind you, it's 20 minutes just to get off the mountain.
Yeah, not to mention, you're in the middle. Like, it's not like you're in like a condo in Brickell. You're in the B motherfucking E. Like,
I'm like, y'all, I'm gonna dig a hole outside the cabin and wipe my ass with my fucking leaf. Sure. You're like,
where's
brother.
the outhouse?
When I tell you, please, I mean, like, I know you believe me, but it's just so unlike me. I was just so heated in the moment.
I mean, listen, I understand. When you have to shit, it's a completely different sort of energy.
I said, great, I will wipe my ass with my hand. Thanks.
You responded to cleaners are only instructed to put 1 per bathroom. You said, you can't be serious. He said, I'm serious. And then you said, great, I will wipe my ass with my hand. He said, okay, I'll let the office know.
I mean, I can't believe it. And I'm gonna go on Facebook where all the old people are who love this cabin shit, and I'm gonna tag all the other property management in that area and say you are better off going with them.
Yeah, 100%.
Destroy them.
That's crazy.
Insane.
That's crazy. So, like, that's not even being high maintenance. That's the bare fucking minimum.
And
I'm sorry.
Like, am I high maintenance?
I get the porch thing, like, all right, whatever. You're in the middle of the woods, a little dirt, don't hurt. Motherfucking toilet paper, bitch. Toilet paper.
How am I gonna wipe my ass?
I gotta get my fucking wet wipes for my car. Like, what the fuck you want me to do? Fucking put some hand sanitizer on that shit.
20 minutes before we even see a stop sign, just getting down the mountain.
I mean, they should. I mean, I get that it is in like the description, but like that's not something that you like.
I was like, I never
heavily look over.
Like, had you read the instructions? I'm like, I never in my life would have thought that I need to read to check if I need to bring toilet paper on my trip.
Like, I mean, it should be something that's like said like the day before your trip or something. There should be a
sign in the bathroom that says, hey, this is the only roll of toilet paper you're going to get. Right? And not to mention, this is a fiasco, but not to mention, I checked the Airbnb photos and the picture of the bathroom, there's 1 roll on the fucking thing and there's 1 roll on the toilet. So I'm like, y'all could have provided
that's
2.
Funny. That's funny.
2.
False advertising.
Anyways, guys. I'm sorry I had to go there, but I had to go there.
That was a rant I feel like we needed.
I had to go there.
Had to do it to him.
Anyways, I didn't let that, ruin my vacation. I had a great time, and next time I'm just going to be extra careful if I have to bring toilet paper or not.
Yeah, I mean, were the reviews for this place good? I would have to assume,
and that's the worst part. That's like the most upsetting part is like I am very diligent with reviews.
Yeah, naturally.
And all the reviews were like hot tub was spotless, clean place. Yeah. So I think we just maybe got
maybe they got like new management or cleaner.
I don't know.
Yeah, that blows.
But it is what it is.
Even reading those texts, he was not like nice about it.
And this was also, I'm going to write a really long review, but this guy also was like some guy who doesn't even like really work for property management. He was like the guy who does it on the weekends. I'm like, most of your guests are staying during the weekends. How do you guys not have a good system in place for like when you get you know what he said the first time I contacted him? He said, how'd you get my number? Oh, I swear. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. Guys, anyways, I could sit here all day. I don't want to bore you any longer. There is steam blowing out of her ears right now.
You need to contact Airbnb. You need to write every review.
Oh, I know.
Let's find this guy's home.
I'm on
Send
it.
him a bag of shit.
Oh my God, you should have heard me in the moment. I told Tyler, I said, I'm going to take a shit and I'm going to wipe it on these clean white towels and I'm going to spread it. I was like going off. He was like, babe, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Not to mention, we will wrap this up. But it also sucks because it's like you handled this for Tyler's birthday. And then it's like, when it's not like a perfect experience, you feel like responsible because you're like, fuck.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't shed a tear or two.
Oh, yeah. That warrants a little emotional tear.
Tear too. Anywho, guys, we won't hold you any longer than we have already. We are going to take a brief break for our show sponsors before getting into our incredible episode with Abby, and we will see you. Oh wait, I forgot about the weekly quote.
Oh, weekly quote. Let's do it. I also forgot.
I'm just going to throw it at you guys real quick. It is from the one, the only David Green from Bigger Pockets podcast. And I heard it on my way here and I wrote it down. He said, "It's not reckless to let go of the need of uncertainty." He didn't even say it as like, this is a quote. He literally was just talking and he said that and it stuck with me.
Repeat it.
It's not reckless to let go of the need of, I think I meant certainty. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I meant. No,
All
sorry.
right.
I was texting this really quick so I wouldn't forget.
I was like, that's kind of interesting.
Sorry.
I don't know if it's hitting.
Let's try that again. The quote is, "It's not reckless to let go of the need of certainty."
Okay. Yes, that I can get behind.
And that resonated
that
with
does
me.
resonate with me. I like it.
Like, you're not being reckless.
Yeah.
You're not always going to be certain about things. You're not always going to know 100% how it's going to pan out.
Let's get an office.
See
what I did there?
Let's get into the ads. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye, brothers.
Art of Tea is an organic tea company based in Los Angeles, California, on a mission to impact as many lives as possible through tea by creating a healthy, delicious, and sustainable experience with each brew and blend.
They believe in using only the highest quality ingredients and source all of their teas and botanicals directly from the source. Art of Tea sources from the top 2% of all teas produced in the world. They hand blend and package all of their whole leaf teas in-house in Los Angeles. Every time you order from Art of Tea, your order will be made fresh just for you.
And you can also take their tea quiz for personalized recommendations about what you would enjoy based on your preferences and lifestyle, which personally I love. They have over 100 tea blends to choose from. You guys can use our discount code whiskey and water 20. It's valid for 20% off your entire purchase at artoftea.com, and it is valid through August 31st, 2021. Guys, go get yourselves some tea.
Check them out. As we've talked about on the show before, we should seek out what's right for us and not compromise on what's most important. Our relationships should add value to our lives, especially in the bedroom. So why don't we think the same way about our sex toys?
Dame Products is a woman-owned sex toy company making the next generation of vulva-tested, vulva-approved vibrators. Founded by a sex educator and an engineering whiz, Dame develops toys with the help of real humans and couples like you. They're closing the pleasure gap and helping the world one vulva at a time.
Their vibrators and accessories are made with medical-grade silicone, smart design principles, and lots of love, earning glowing press from the New York Times, W Magazine, and many more.
So whether you're a couple looking for an extra boost where it matters or a journey on self-exploration, we're sure they'll earn a spot on your nightstand.
And the best part, Dame offers hassle-free returns within 60 days, so your satisfaction is literally guaranteed. You can go to dameproducts.com/WW today for 10% off.
Again, that is dameproducts.com/WW today for 10% off.
Go get you guys some fucking toys.
Yes.
We can attest to this. They are fire. That's all I'm saying.
They are great. We will leave it at that. Trust us. We got you, brothers. We wouldn't do you wrong.
We would never lead you astray.
Go shop. W&W is the code.
All right, guys, we have told you about nutrition realm, we have told you about fitness realm, and we have told you about women's realm. So naturally, we had to do it to you, and we're going to be talking to you about pet realm.
Because we love our pets, naturally. As pet lovers, we know how difficult it can be to sit through all the information available about pet wellness, training, and products. Pet Realm's mission is to help you give your pets the absolute best by providing you with clear, factual information about all things pets.
From CBD to the best toys and tips and tricks, Pet Realm will provide you with a one-stop shop to keep you and your pets healthy and happy. Check out petrealm.co and follow them at GoPetRealm on Instagram.
Yes, and we will have the link in our description for you as well.
All right, go check it out, guys.
All right, guys, we are on the line with Abby. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to finally have you on. You've been an inspiration to us for a hot minute now, and we can't wait to just share you with our audience and all your insight into business and all your branding tips and everything else. But before we hop into it, if you could just give us a brief little introduction. If people don't know you already, just tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm Abby. I'm a creative director of Tone the Agency. It's my own creative agency that I started sometime late last year. Before I was modeling, and that wasn't my shit, wasn't my vibe at all. I was more so wanting to take over the production and being like, let's do this lighting, let's grab these props, let's be here. Pretty annoying when you're a model and they're getting paid more than you and they're like, let's shut up. But so now I started my own, and I'm doing branding, websites, logos, graphic design, like literally anything a brand could possibly need, we cover, but we also cover consulting because there's a lot that goes into a brand before you see it. So pretty much it.
So cool. How long were you modeling for?
I modeled for 5 years, but freelance for the first 4, and then 1 year with Elite. But modeling, honestly, not my shit.
We can relate.
Which is crazy because if you guys aren't watching, she's like this stunning 6 foot plus, like just looks like a walking model.
Victoria's Secret model.
Oh, yeah, instantly. And you're like, nope, hated it.
And that's how we know you, is through the modeling industry.
Exactly. And like, honestly, the second that Victoria's Secret got rid of their runways, I was like, I don't give a shit about this anymore. My dream is falling down the toilet and I'm going somewhere else.
Facts. It's so funny that you were like on set and trying to creative direct and you're like, I'm not getting paid to do this.
I mean, I feel like we can relate to that so much because and it's just like a lot of like simple stuff too, but like I feel like we're all the kind of people and that like to take over and be like, no, this is a better idea. No, this looks better.
Imagine you've been on so many productions and you've learned how everyone else fails in certain areas. So you take that and you're like, okay, I can apply this to this situation. The lighting looks shit right here. I can see this in my ugly ass side. Let me fix where we're sitting. Let me grab this prop. This makes sense. Like their branding is neutrals. Like let's add neutrals. Why is there neon green shit behind me? Like it's just simple things that you could see fixing, and then to stay quiet, it's really hard when you're passionate about something. But,
especially when you're the talent.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm literally just getting paid to be a pretty face, and that's about
it. It's hard to just be that though. You're like, I am so much more than this.
Oh my god, so facts. I mean, that's why that was a big reason we wanted to start the podcast, is because at the time we were just really modeling was our main thing, and we were like, oh, we have just so much more to say than just like, we have so much more to offer the world than just our exterior appearance. But I just want to say, it's so crazy that you've only had your agency since last year, and the amount of growth you've had in the past year. I mean, we've been watching you, and it's insane how you've scaled, and I'm so excited to get into it and pick your brains and ask you everything. But to start it, I'm curious to know how you even learned everything that you know about, how you're able to consult businesses on branding. Like, was it all self-taught? Did you take courses? What was that like for you?
So definitely nothing was self-taught. Like whenever someone says they're self-made or self-taught, it's like, I hate that because it's such bullshit, because it takes a whole tribe to learn something. So I definitely had some incredible mentors. My ex-boyfriend, for reference, he's one of my good friends now. He owns a makeup manufacturing company, and I've learned so much from that man. Like the companies he works with, like Tarte, Too Faced, I can sit down and just pick his brain and like absorb so much information just from listening to him talk about the conversations he's had. Alongside with that, it's just like when I would be on shoots, for instance, and I would sit down with the brands and I would ask them what their issues were, because I actually give a shit. Like I want to be like, what is your intention with doing this shoot? What are you trying to accomplish? I know it's not just nice pictures. What is your end goal here? Where are you trying to go? And taking all of that with series of brands of working with, put it all together and like kind of got here. And along the path of modeling as well and having those clients, I would do graphic design on the side for them. I'd be like, oh, like, do you need some graphics for Instagram, or do you need banners made for your website or whatever? And I would just like play it around and make side money, because modeling, you wait like 8 months for a paycheck sometimes, or it just never freaking comes. So I had to find like a side hustle, and it just ended up being in websites and graphic design, and then learning along the way, all trial and error. All the information I took from every brand that was struggling, I can now apply that to my clients and be like, okay, don't do this because I've seen XYZ brand do it and fail. Let's do this because it's worked for this brand, So just taking information and applying it to the new clients.
And what was the turning point for you to be like, okay, I want to actually turn this into a creative agency and start, making this an official thing essentially?
I think it was probably when I started doing content creation for a jewelry brand and realizing how much traction it was getting and how much it was building this company and how many people were intrigued and damn, this is dope, this is different, you're making an impact here, and being like, okay, I can do this for a living. And on top of it, my imposter syndrome was starting to go away because I was realizing I was capable, and I'm like, all right, know your worth, let's put a price on this, let's start grabbing more people. And then suddenly, I don't know, I had so many brands coming to me wanting to do content or wanting branding, and all just kind of fell together. There was no plan at all.
Gotcha.
I know, but sometimes that is the best case scenario.
And that is organic.
It's so organic. You didn't sit and think, okay, I'm gonna start this agency, let me go out and find clients. You had clients coming to you, and at that point you were like, wait, I need to make this legitimate.
It's demand and supply.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. At what point did you secure your office? I want to talk about that because that has been a goal of me and Jess's for, I would say, since we launched in January. And
I mean, even when we had the podcast, we would like dream of an office.
It's like our biggest goal right now, just to have a creative, like a safe place in a way to just go and be creative and not have work mixed with play and not be doing our podcast looking at dishes or, you know, anything. Just separate the two.
Not me staring at my dishes right now. So yeah, we would just love to like kind of pick your brain about that. And like, and if you feel, because, you know, this is such an interesting like day and age where like most people like work remotely, but you know, we do see the value in having like a physical office because you can have your employees right next to you. You guys can have like brainstorming sessions in person and whatnot. So would love to just,
you know, you don't procrastinate. Like when you're there, you know, what you're going to do.
Exactly. And you can kind of like not, you know, of course you want people to like kind of work of their own recognizance, but you know, you can look over and see that your employees like getting shit done and you know what they're getting done. So yeah, I would love to just pick your brain on that.
Yeah. So my turning point for getting an office, I do like a lot of self-growth and personal growth. And I listen to a lot of podcasts along the way. And one of the things was like, you have to spend money to make money. And the exact amount I was making was the exact amount I was putting into my office, but I knew my capabilities and I know my drive that I was like, I have to take this jump and this leap of faith because otherwise I'm never going to progress. Like you can't just stay the same and keep doing the same shit and expect things to change. So I was like, okay, if I want to have clients, I want somewhere reputable to show them. I need to have an office where they can meet with me because meeting at a random Starbucks does not look professional to a large client. Like for instance, my goal is Nike. How am I going to get to Nike and I'm bringing them to freaking McDonald's? You know, like it just doesn't make sense. So I was like, let me just go get this office. It's a lot. I don't have the money to do this right now, but I know I'm going to figure out a way. And if I have some fire behind my ass, I'm gonna make money and I'm gonna make things work and I'm gonna pay the rent. So it's kind of just like jumping into it and not thinking about it. That's probably not the best financial advice, but
no, but I'm literally the same way.
It's so funny because like, we are so opposite in the
way
like, we look
Olivia,
at
like you're so balanced and like let's plan it out, financial planning, and Jess is like fucking go.
I'm like we need to get the office to make money.
She's like that will make us more money if we get it with no money.
Yeah, and that's literally how I've gotten every apartment. Like, and Olivia knows, like, that is my, like, game plan. I'm like, okay, well, I need to get an apartment that's more expensive so that I am forced to make more money.
Exactly. Because, like, if you want to live in a nice place, too, you're like, okay, get your shit together. Because otherwise you can always just coast and stay in some shit apartment you don't love. But if you get something that's expensive, you're like, I'm either going to die here or I'm going to live here.
Yeah, fucking swim or drown, baby.
Yeah, that's it.
I love that. And I like how you mentioned, like, this will put the fire under my ass. Like, I know there's, you know, everyone works in different ways and operates differently, but I kind of like that approach because you always hear like, you know, plan and make sure you have this amount saved enough to cover 6 months or whatever it is. And I kind of like your approach was just like I had the confidence in myself and I knew that I wasn't going to let myself drown in this. If you could give any advice to someone who maybe doesn't have that confidence but like can do it, what would you tell them?
I'd probably tell them just to start working on their self-awareness and their self-growth because it's like a big foundation to have to get that mindset. Like you have to work on having that I don't give a fuck, I'll figure it out. But it comes from like a lot of podcasts and a lot of reading and figuring out, getting rid of your ego, getting rid of your fears and getting yourself out of that scarcity mindset. Because a lot of people have that. So to just breaking down your ego, breaking down your fears is really the best way. So just working on yourself. And then once you do that for like a couple months and you start being like, okay, I trust myself with this. I trust myself with this. Now I can trust myself that I'll figure this out as well.
Exactly. And because I have such a similar mindset in that aspect, I would love to just add to that. Like, I think taking like those small leaps of faith is what's going to prepare you for the big leaps of faith. Like, of course, you can't just like have not accomplished anything and be like, yeah, fuck it, gonna get an office, you know. It is about like breaking down the ego and building up the confidence and the self-awareness and the like almost like the respect for yourself. Like exactly. You won't let yourself down. Like you have to know that. And so just knowing that like you have that mindset, that's like FIFO, figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. And also like that cheesy saying, nothing good happens in your comfort zone. It's so true. Like, everything amazing is one jump outside of this little freaking bubble you're living in.
Exactly.
We resonate with that so much. And I kind of like how you made a comparison, well, at least I did, from what you said, that like so much of business has to do with like the personal development growth and the spiritual growth. Like so much of business, I think a lot of people will get wrapped up in the numbers and the metrics and, you know, what you've learned in business school, but so much, if not like majority of business, is dependent on your own personal and spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that I love that you said that, and we definitely resonate with that.
Another thing, because like I love to listen to Jim Rohn. He's like passed away now, but he's a really awesome mentor. You can go to him on YouTube. But his one thing he says is life does not waste success on the unprepared. Basically, like if you are not, and by unprepared, I don't mean like you have your financial plan right now. I mean unprepared in the sense that if $1 million were to come your way, would you know what to do with it? Would you know how to handle it? Would your ego go well with it? Would you become an asshole if you got that $1 million today? Probably, if you're not doing self-growth. But if you're being really humble, you're working hard, you're growing the team around you, that money comes your way, you're prepared because you're in a good mindset that you're not going to blow it, and you're also going to remain humble. So it's about being humble when your growth comes, and then life will give to those who are prepared mindset-wise.
I love that. And I love the quote that you said, because we just said that before the podcast, like about like how growth is out of your comfort zone, because we were just referring to a friend and we were like, it's just, they're simply not taking that leap because it's out of their comfort zone. And it's so true. Like so much happens outside of that little circle that our brains create for themselves, which is really just basic human survival, but it is also very much a trick that we play on ourselves.
Well, just think about when you guys were wanting to start the podcast, you guys probably had like a bunch of things like, why would we do that? No one's going to listen, blah, blah, blah. No, like you're doing it. You jumped out of your comfort zone. You started it and shit's flowing, you know, and like the opportunities are starting to arise and people are listening. So it's like, imagine like back on anything you've ever had that you've succeeded in. If you didn't take that leap of faith, what would you be doing right now? You know, like working some boring 9 to 5 that you don't enjoy.
100%. I mean, even like myself with photography, it was like so hard to overcome that imposter syndrome because, you know, like I felt like I was boxed in, like not only like with others, but by myself as like a model and an influencer. Like, no, I can't be an actual photographer. Like, you know, I'm not going to be taken seriously. I'm not going to be good enough. Like those things would replay in my head all the time. And now, you know, years later, we've, I do photography essentially full time.
Yeah, and it's incredible because also when you're on the other end of the camera when you're in front of it to being behind it, you can direct and you also know what angles you'd like to be captured in, so you can direct them better. And you understand how the light was hitting you, how your body looked when you were in that pose before. You can direct so much better when you've done both. And I think it gives you a lot more credibility than most photographers because they really don't know what it's like to be on the other end.
Wow, that's such a good point.
I mean, I would say that was like my biggest thing that kind of pushed me into photography, but it's because like I was tired of shooting with photographers and like hating the images or not receiving the images. So like the first step was like us, you know, buying cameras and then shooting the content ourselves. We were like, why are we relying on photographers who are choosing the absolute worst fucking angles of us? Like we need to start doing it ourselves. So
we're making like the worst selects. Like there's like 5 good pictures and they pick the worst one of you.
It's like you're like half blanking.
Yeah.
That would happen every time. Like I would get pictures back. I'd be so hyped about it. The shoot seemed like it was going really well. And I'd get the pictures and I was like, what in the alien ass shit is this? Like, what did you make me look like?
And you're like, glad I just spent 3 hours of my life that I'll never get back on horrible photos.
Drenched in flood outside of Miami. Like this was great.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to something you said about like just self-doubt in general. A great point that I want to make, actually, that I was just listening to on the podcast on the way here. Bigger Pockets, shout out. But they mentioned this philosophy or this idea of like when you're having self-doubt or you're debating if you should make the jump or the leap, think about worst case versus best case scenario. And like best case will always be like 10 times outweigh what the worst case could possibly be. I mean, you know, depending on if you're going to buy like a $500,000 house, whatever. But in so many situations, if you break it down to worst case versus best case scenario, it's like, okay, worst case, I could be judged by my friends and family. I could fail, whatever that means. I could invest time and it not pay itself. Best case scenario, I end up with my dream job, working for myself on my own schedule, making passive income, whatever that best case scenario is. So I think if you're struggling, if anyone's listening and you're struggling with making a decision, really break it down. What's the worst case and best case scenario that can happen out of this? And I bet you the best case scenario will totally outweigh the worst.
Always. It always does. Like, so many leaps of faith I've had to take. Like, it's crazy. For instance, when I moved down to South Florida, because I was raised in Tampa, my parents were getting evicted constantly, never had money. The lights were shut off. Like, there was never food in the fridge. I grew up in this small town. It's called Newport Richie. It's a shithole. Don't look it up. Don't waste your time.
My fiance went to college there.
Oh, it's the worst. I'm so glad you got out. But the biggest thing you'll ever do is work at the grocery store in customer service counter. So I was living like this, and I was like, I'm meant for so much more. Yeah, I know how my mind works. These people can't see past the day to day, and I'm seeing like years ahead of me. So I took the leap of faith moving down here. My mom was like, it's not going to work out. Don't do it. You don't have the money for this. Everyone's like, why would you even go down there? You don't even know what you're doing. You don't know anyone. And I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm going. I'm going to have a better life than this. And like, now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I could be working at Publix for the rest of my life. Or I could be doing what I'm doing right now, where I love it. I'm around amazing, like incredible female entrepreneurs like yourselves. And it's like, I'm free flowing and getting paid to be creative, something I love to do, versus working, selling freaking chicken at a grocery store.
That gave me goosebumps,
yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, props to you and kudos to you. That's something I think about sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe, because, you know, it's something that I've never had to do because we are privileged living in South Florida with so many opportunities and so much business here. But I've always looked at those type of people who say fuck it and they leave their hometown or they move across the country and, you know, they drop everything and move to LA. I just think like that takes such balls and just courage and confidence in yourself, and I respect that so much. So I think that's awesome.
And honestly, I love to see it when that happens with people, because I have a lot of friends still who live in my hometown, and our conversations, like, they're like, what do you even do for a living? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't understand. Like, you're not scared, because like sometimes you don't have a bunch of clients and sometimes you do have a bunch of clients.
Right.
They're like, you're not worried about the numbers coming in? I'm like, no, like, I trust myself. Like, money comes easily and frequently. I'm not worried about it. And they're like panicking, and they're only making $12 an hour. And I can't imagine, I'm like, you're looking at $12 an hour and I'm looking at like possible 12,000 in one person, you know? So it's like, you just have to trust yourself that you're going to find the right people and that you're a money magnet and things are going to come to you as they should.
Oof, love that.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
I feel the vibes.
Truly.
Because I'm the same way, especially like I find that there's been this pattern in my life, especially with money, where like as soon as I start stressing about it, something happens. I get a residual check for a commercial I did 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, universe, I see you. And I take it as a sign. And I think it would be stupid not to take those as signs, you know, like even small things like numbers. We had a numerology girl on the podcast once, and that totally changed the way I even look at numbers. And it's like the universe does put out signs. You just have to be like listening and open to them.
Yeah, just be super aware. Like, that's in anything you do is awareness, like self-awareness, like surrounding your awareness. Just like observe everything and always try to be better. That's it. Like if you want change, be better. That's simple as that. If you want to learn something, freaking try to learn it. Sit there. If you want to learn how to draw, like start practicing drawing. Like anything you want to do, you just have to do it and you'll be better at it, you know? It's a simple process.
I want to ask you a little bit about what it's been like hiring and building a team, especially since you have scaled at such a fast rate. Considering you started, you know, just last year and you already have a team of what, 4 or 5?
So it's 4, and then I have some project-based people, and then I also have like subcontractors. But it's definitely been a journey because some people take their own initiative and some people just don't do shit, and you have to figure that out over time. And if you really believe in what your business embodies, like Tone is all about, we're going to make an impact. Nothing is perfectly strategized, but we're going to make an impact. We're going to do things differently. We're not going to copy anybody. We're going to empower other people. If the people that you hire are not embodying that, you have to let them go. Like if they're not empowering, if they're not showing confidence, you can't keep them around, because it's just like in your personal life. If a friend becomes toxic to you, or they always put you down on your ideas, and like you just feel drained when you're around them, you have to let them go the same you would in business. But on the hiring end, it's more so making sure that the people have the same values as you. Are they, like for me, I only surround myself with people who are working on their spiritual growth and personal growth. Like if you're not trying to be a better individual, you're not going to work out at my company, because we're always evolving, and I want every company we work with, I want to help them evolve as well. It's not about money by any means. It's literally like making an impact in those people's life and helping them see things a little more positively. So if the girls that I go to bring on my team do not have that mindset where they're going to bring an amazing energy and positivity and impact to my clients and to the girls around me. I don't want them there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Wow. That's so good.
I mean, I think that that's so important, because it's also like, if people aren't doing that kind of work, then like they're kind of just spreading unconsciousness around you and your company as well. Exactly. I mean, it's just...
If someone doesn't, if they don't want to work on themselves and they don't want to evolve, why would they want to help your company evolve? Mm-hmm. Think about that. Like, if they're not even respecting themselves enough and loving themselves enough that they're going to be working on their growth, why would they help you grow and the others around you? They're not going to. There's no drive there. There's no initiative, and there's no care.
I love that so much. That I think that is like some of the best hiring advice you could ever give someone, is like, ask your employees if they're working on their personal growth journeys. I think that's incredible, because also it's like, then you guys are on the same page of like, when it comes to constructive criticism, you know that they're going to be open to that and not defensive. Mm-hmm. Like if you say, hey, here's how I think you can improve, they're going to be like, awesome, thank you for the feedback. You know, and that's totally like, someone either is that way or they're not that way. It's almost like you can't make someone open to that. They have to just be open to it and dedicated to the work, you know? Mm-hmm.
Or even if they have the potential where you realize like they're having an awakening, where they think you can see that there's potential, they're like, okay, they're a little lost, they just need some guidance, then you can bring them on, but just know you're going to have some work to do. Right. But my biggest thing I look for is if they're working on their personal growth and if they have an ego. If they have an ego, go fuck yourself. Like, excuse my language, but like, I don't have time for it. If you have an ego, I don't want to be around you, because I work so hard.
Such a contradictory statement.
Yeah,
I love it though. It's true.
Well, I get it, because like the go fuck yourself is like,
no. I love it though.
Yeah, it's more so like, why would I want to be around somebody that's going to think they're better than everybody else? Mm-hmm. I'm at my office, and if the garbage needs dumping out, I'm going to go do it. It's not beneath me. If I need to go scrub the floors because before a photo shoot's happening, I'm going to go do it. Like, nothing. I'll never have a job or a task that is below me. Like, I'll do anything. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that I have people that embody that as well, that they're not going to be like, if I'm asking them for help because I'm drowning and stuff, hey, can you go pick this up really quick? I don't want them to be like, no, that's not in my job description. Like, I don't do that. No, I want them to be like, hell yeah, I'm helping the team. Let's go. And don't have egos.
I think that that's huge too.
Finding team players, really.
Especially when you're in this sort of like creative space, like there is, you know, shit that needs to be done that isn't super fucking glamorous all the time. And it's like, yo, if I need you to like get on your hands and knees to hold this reflector, you know, and like you need to be, you know, you need to be down for the count. Like, let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, nothing beneath you if you're going to hire somebody.
And so how do you kind of handle these situations as a boss? Because this is something that we struggle with and that we've spoken about. Like, we don't want to like ever come off as, you know, bitchy or, you know, mean or micromanaging. So if you do feel like someone isn't really, you know, pulling their weight, how do you deal with it?
Honestly, it's been a very big learning curve for me, because I have to tread on eggshells sometimes, because I work with a lot of females. So I mean, I'm very careful with how I address things, but I more so address it in like a how we can improve way. So another like side note is I never present a problem without presenting a solution in anything I do. So if they come to me and they're like, and I see that they're failing at something, I'm like, hey, look, you're doing this wrong. Here's the way we do it correctly, and here's why we do it correctly, instead of reprimanding like, hey, this looks like shit, this doesn't work for us. Like, no, you always present the problem and the solution at the same time. But it is hard, but the way I always present things is remove my ego and remove my emotion. Business is not emotional by any means. It's literally just a bunch of logistics and everything, numbers coming together and things flowing. So I always remove my emotions before I address anything. And it's easy to get upset when people aren't doing well in your business and be like, why don't they care? Like, this is our livelihood, whatever. But I never present the problem when I'm in the moment of reaction. Like, I give myself a second to cool down, and I'll watch actions for like 2 weeks to watch and see how they're going. And then I'll present it, depending on the heaviness of the problem.
That's so good. That's great. I'm definitely a big, you know, supporter of take a second, take a breather. Let's calm down. Let's get level-headed about the situation. Step back, see it with some perspective, because if you go into something with that emotion, even if you do a good job of communicating, it's like it's an energy thing, and like they can kind of just feel it, You have to kind of cleanse yourself of that first, and that's just such great advice. You approach the situation with like a clean slate almost. And you're right, it is business.
Clarity and be level-headed. And when you present the issue, there's no emotion there. It's just, look, this is what you did. You never say I'm unhappy or whatever. You're just like, look, this doesn't work. This doesn't align with what we're trying to present our client with. Can you work on this? Here's how we're going to get better at it. And here's why we're going to get better at it. Because we don't want to, you always have to give a reason and give understanding and give clarity, just like you would want in any aspect of your life.
And I think it's also so important to like remove the emotion, because when you present, when you like are starting to reprimand someone for something, they can easily get as defensive because they're feeling your energy and they're just reciprocating it.
They're attacked.
They're attacked, and like it's just like an energy, circle. It's like, they're going to feed off of that. But when you come to them without ego, it's like it's just a completely different energy shift, and they're like, okay, I'm not in trouble. They are just, we're just trying to improve.
Yeah, exactly. And also that goes back to when you're hiring, you look for people that don't have egos, because when that time does come that you have to reprimand them, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about, versus like, I don't know why you're giving me a hard time. Like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. If someone has an ego and then you go to reprimand them, you're going to see the ego. Right. So it's like, hire wisely.
What would be your best advice on just leadership in general? And I know it's kind of a loaded question. Like there's a lot to be said there, but I feel like you are a strong leader within your team, and you're building this company. And just curious to know what some of your advice would be.
I think the best advice would be, obviously I've said ego 1,005 times, but remove your ego and being accountable. Okay. If you fuck up, you tell them, hey, I was late on this. Their client's upset. It's me. I'm going to deal with it. It's my problem. I did this. Going forward, like, let your team members keep you accountable as well. If you see that I'm running a little behind on something I'm supposed to deliver tomorrow, give me shit for it. Tell me, like just being accountable in general, because nothing can go wrong if you present, like when you come to them and you're like, hey, I messed up on this. It's normal. Here's how I'm going to improve on it. And here's why I'm going to improve on it. You reprimand yourself publicly, basically.
That is so great, because you're leading by example. How could you expect them to, take accountability for situations if you don't? I love that you said that, and that, it's do it publicly. Like, let everyone know, hey, I fucked up, but I'm owning it, and here's how I'm going to be better.
Yeah, and that's why I harp on the fact of ego, because that's where that comes from. Is we put those aside, you're able to be accountable, because you're not worried about feeling like you're powerful or whatever. You don't care. You're more so like, this has to get done, and it didn't, and it's my fault, and here's how I'm going to get better. And then everyone respects it, and then they learn how to let their ego down along the way as well.
Oh, so good.
I would also say that like a really good tip that's just helped me like with life is also just taking accountability for pretty much everything. Like, like anything that's like going on in your life, like first things first, you have to take accountability, because I feel like our first like line of defense is to be like, well, there was traffic and that's why I'm late, or I'm running late because XYZ, or whatever it may be. So I think that taking accountability first and foremost also helps you remove the ego, because then when you are presenting these things to either your team members or clients, like you're not coming from a place of like shifting the blame. You're coming from a place of like, this is on me and here's how we're going to improve.
Yeah, like the biggest thing to live by is like no blame, accountability only. Like that's it. There's no blame but yourself, and so just take accountability for it.
There's a great book that has been on, I was just looking on my book list for a long time. It's about, I don't know if you remember the name of it. It's something along the lines of like God, I'm going to have to remember. I'll include it in the intro once I find it, but it's all about taking like 110%.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's what I'm referencing in my head.
Yeah, that book. We have to find it. We'll definitely make sure to include it in the intro. But even in a situation, we've talked about this before on the podcast too, but even in a situation where something is the other person's fault.
Yeah.
you still say, okay, well, how could I have been a better leader? How could I have better assigned you that task? And you just really, oh God, it's going to drive me crazy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've read it. If not, Juan had read it, and that's how I know about it. But
super cool. Great, absolutely great advice.
I would love to know what that book is too, because I love evolving in any way I possibly can. And for instance, like back to taking accountability, say my girls in like the recent weeks have been a little behind or slow on things. And I noticed, I was like, I have not been present as a leader. Like this is my fault as a leader, that I am not taking accountability for helping them learn and helping them progress. So it's me. And I never directly blame someone else unless it's like ongoing and like I'm taking my time and I'm being attentive and they're still doing the same thing. It's on them and you have to let them go. But when you realize that they're messing up and it's because you're not really present and you're in your own world, you have to take accountability, which is what I just did the other day. I'm like, I'm being a shit leader and I have to improve, and I'll vocalize that. I'm like, hey, I've been terrible. I haven't been present. Like, let's set up meetings. Let's go over one-on-ones and let's move forward.
Love that. And also it's like the fine balance of that, but also having like grace with yourself too, you know, like, hey, I've sucked the past few weeks, but I'm working on it. I'm getting better, and it's okay because everyone sucks sometimes, you know, like we're human. We're not all 100% for everything in our lives all the fucking time, 24/7. So it just happens. And I think having grace, but also holding yourself accountable is the sweet spot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. I want to ask one more question in regards to just building a team, because, you know, it's just so relevant to us right now and relevant to anyone who's listening with a small business or any sort of project that they're looking to hire assistance for. I want to see what your advice or insight is on either accepting the fact that no one will ever love your business the way you do, or finding people who do, if that's a thing.
I think the way that I've been growing and it's been working for me and adding to my team is that I make sure to remember I did not like having a corporate 9-to-5. I'm not going to create that kind of environment. And also allowing my girls to have a life outside of Tone. So although I want them to build my business, I want them to have their own as well. And I'll help them build it at the same time. And never being like, you're my puppet. I tell you what to do. You're mine. Like, just because you give someone money doesn't mean you own their life. So I always make sure that those girls have their side hustle. So one of my girls, they're my digital coordinator, but she's also a model. And she'll be like, hey, I have a shoot coming up on Tuesday. Do you care if I do it? I'm like, hell yeah, do it. Just get your shit done when you can. Or like one of my girls has a skincare line. Like, she's building it. I'm like, we have a shoot this day. It's a beautiful thing that aligns with your aesthetic. Come shoot pictures as well. Like, I don't care that you're on salary. Like, I want you to evolve in your brand too. So it's pretty much just knowing that they're going to have a life outside of your business. And if they see you helping theirs, they're going to help yours. Like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, kind of thing. I think that's the best way to be.
Great.
I love that.
Team.
So good. And now I have another question for you. Now that we've talked about kind of like the mindset aspect of it, you mentioned salary, and I would love to get into kind of the, like, just briefly, don't want to deep dive, but get into like the number and actual business mathematical equation of building a team. I know in the past you've mentioned to us, like, before I hire anyone, I make sure I have like a certain amount of months, their salary paid for with no other income coming in. Would love to hear any insight you have on that.
It's crazy that you remember that from the meeting that we had like months and months ago, sister.
I do be remembering.
But like, I remember exactly when that happened too, which is funny.
I do be remembering.
That was the moment. So I guess with salaries, like I said, I put away 6 months before, but I can't do that now that I've added so many people. So it's at least 3 months, but I don't pay myself a salary. I cover my essentials. And then I'm like, all right, anything else, my employees get paid before I ever do. Like, I'm going to make sure that their shit is taken care of no matter what. And like, this goes back to what I said earlier about trusting yourself. Like I said, like how we said about the rent, I know that it's going to get paid because I'm going to make sure that we have clients to pay those bills. Like, if I know I have to make this much for the month to pay them, it's going to happen, you know? So it's not really the best advice. I want to honestly follow that because I wish there was more balance there, but it's a matter of trusting yourself and knowing you'll get it sorted. They should probably contact an accountant.
This is not legal or financial advice.
Yeah, disclaimer, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
And no, you do. But I'm curious because the way it kind of works, are you having clients on retainer? Like, is that how you know that like you're kind of set for the next few months, or because us personally, like we do some like one-off type of stuff, which is great and it's good in the meantime, but it's like we kind of find it hard to scale in the long run because it's like we don't know what's necessarily, we have a couple of retainers, but we don't necessarily know what the next coming months hold.
Yeah, so I offer both, but if it's content creation, it's usually a 3-month agreement because you can't see consistency until like mid-month 2.
That's
so true. I'm not going to have them sign on for a 1-month thing and then it's going to lack consistency because they're going to get photos elsewhere. So I pretty much I offer packages with retainers, and then I also offer upgrades to your packages, or I offer a la carte services. So I'm like, hey, here's what I believe you're going to need over the long run with me. We'll get started with this. And then when you're ready, we'll dive into those other things down the line. So I think it's pretty much giving your client a plan of what you believe they need, let them start at the top. And then as they're seeing success with what you've done for them, they're willing to like go and do the other things. So it's pretty much you take what they say. So I'll do a consultation, take what they say. They say they need this, but realistically they need like 18 things. I'll write it down and then let them start at the top.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Okay, good to know.
Very smart. Also, you had mentioned, I know I said we'd move on, but while we're here, you said something about paying yourself, which is so funny because we're also in the phase where we're like, we're not taking anything at all. Like our 2 biggest businesses, the podcast and the agency, we don't even touch. But so like at what point do you feel like, I mean, you're kind of in the same boat now because I'm sure everything you make, you're just reinvesting into your company, but what are your thoughts on like at what point do you start to either cut yourself a check or pay yourself or take anything from your business?
Yeah, like at what point do you stop like almost like reinvesting into the company? Because it's like everything.
Or do you ever stop?
Yeah.
You don't ever stop because like I said earlier, you have to spend money to make money. Like if you're not willing to spend and to grow into like different like avenues, you're never going to accomplish anything. You're literally going to stay stagnant and it's not worth it. But for me, I'm going to start paying myself probably in the next few months. I just wanted to make sure that I took care of these new employees and made sure I had some stuff lined up for them first. But it is super important to start paying yourself because realistically you need to be adding to your savings, not just your business. Like you need to make money and you need to think about your future as well as everybody else's. But I think it's okay in the first year or so to not pay yourself. It's just to know that you're going to, and eventually here's how much I think I deserve and here's what I'll pay myself down the line. But also I will not do a task unless it meets my hourly requirement. Like I delegate. Like I've been given the best advice and it's work on the business, not in the business. So if there's something that falls below my hourly that I would want to pay myself, I don't do it, not because of I don't want to, it's because I know that my time needs to be delegated elsewhere and I know that I have team members that can do those tasks and they can do it at a cheaper price than what I can do it at. It's not, so like if you can work on the business and not in it, do it. Delegate everything you can so you can grow other places, and it gives you the chance and the time to think of other revenues and other passive incomes that you can be building on in the meantime as well.
Such good advice.
Yeah, I mean,
that's great.
I think that's great. And a lot of people, when you're first starting a business, like we are working in the business, like we, you do everything. But I feel like that's kind of where we're getting right now, like hiring, Caroline to be our first like dedicated mood employee to handle all of like the emails and like the admin stuff that like really we can't be doing if we want to scale it and think about these larger things and the other income and whatnot, because I mean there's just so many avenues it could even take if you're open to it.
Yeah, and you guys should be really proud of yourself because you hit a point where you're like, all right, we either set fire to mood or we grow it properly and we start getting team members and we're not greedy. The second you take greed out of your mind and you remember spend money to make money, it's okay to get an employee, and it also helps you delegate the day-to-day nonsense. Like sending emails back and forth with clients is a lot of time that you could be spending creating, and it would be making you more money there, so you have to just spend your time like you'd spend your money, basically.
Ooh, I like that.
Spend your time like you'd spend your money.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that one.
I love that. Okay, and when you launched Tone, did you feel, because I feel like you're almost like it's a very unique space, but I do feel like creative agencies are popping up, or like people, not even agencies necessarily, but like people that are doing similar things. Have you experienced any sort of like competition or anything of that nature while launching Tone?
Yeah, so in the beginning, like literally like 5 minutes ago, a few months ago, I was starting to feel like the sense of nerves. Like even when you guys opened Mood, I was like, ooh, like this is a burn. But then I started realizing like that was coming from a place of ego. Yeah. I'm comparing myself to other people. I'm getting out of my lane, looking at yours, and it's making me swerve and not take care of my shit. So I started realizing like in recent months, there's so many creators, and there's also so many consumers. So like there's enough to go around the world for businesses. Like there's enough brands that are going to work with me and enough brands that are going to work with you. And there's enough brands that are going to work with all the other agencies that exist. So it's kind of like shutting that down, shutting down my ego. Again, I talk about ego a lot, to realize that there isn't really competition. It's just, you're all doing your own thing, figuring out your own shit.
Yeah.
So, the sense that you stop thinking like that, things kind of flow better. But it's kind of fun.
I agree. And I think especially in this industry, I almost feel like there's more demand than there is supply. Like there is so much money to be made in this industry, especially when it comes to like content creation, because I think a lot of brands, their method for content creation is to be working with influencers and then just kind of repurposing the content that they're creating. But to be creating content and not really dealing with influencer services is, I think, really unique. And I think there's just so many brands who need that right now. So one, I think there's so much business and so much money to be made. Two, I love that a big like value of Tone, what I've seen you guys sharing on Instagram and stuff, is just like, there is no competition. Like we're all out here. We want everyone to win. You know, you are so supportive of us with Mood when we started it, and you're so supportive with your girls and their brands that they have. And I just love that you're like putting that out there, especially for women, because, you know, there's this what's the word I'm looking for? No, there's this like narrative, I think, with women just being catty towards other women and just seeing each other as competition. And I really love that what you're putting out there and what you're honestly like sticking to at your core, because you're not just talking it, you're being it too, is just promoting the success of everyone and other women and giving women a place to shine and to level up and to be CEOs and to be leaders in their own businesses, rather than like the everyday white corporate old man.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think the second you realize that there's so many brands, that why would I look at what the other person's doing and I would try to take their clients and like why would I let that hurt my feelings? Like why would I let somebody else's success upset me? Like, no, like let me cheer them on. Like, good fucking job. You got that client, you locked that in, you're creative enough, you applied yourself. Like that inspires me. It doesn't put me down. Like I'll let that be my inspiration, not my competition.
Yeah, and I will say, even when we launched Mood, like, of course, there are some parallels, like, with it being a creative agency and with, like, we are both kind of have, like, neutral sort of, like, vibes and branding. And I would say that someone with a lot more ego maybe, would have been threatened and would have been like, oh, they are copying me or they're doing X, Y, Z. When, one, it's, like, it's not the case, because we would never, you know, look at someone else's business model and be like, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing. And I love that, because it's like there is so much room for us to both be like working together in close proximity, and even like room for us to collaborate. Like it doesn't have to be a competition whatsoever, and we would never like even allow it to be, because that's just not our character. And I just feel like we are not those kind of people, and we know you aren't either.
And I'd be lying if I said, like I said earlier, I was like, if you guys were first launching Mood, I was like, oh, but then I'm like, why the fuck do I care? You guys are so creative. You're so good at what you do. Fuck yes, have your own agency. Like, do it, please. Like, please let there be other creative people chasing their freaking dreams instead of going and settling for some bullshit job they don't want to do.
And I think that really speaks volumes about like, the work isn't easy, because our initial reaction to most things, and that's just like that's just the survivalist in us, is to be like, no competition. Like that's just literally instinct. So it's not easy. Like the hard part comes in when you have to take a step back and say, okay, wait, there's room for everyone to win and succeed here. So, and I don't think, maybe not enough people do that because it is hard. It's much easier. What I'm trying to say is it's much easier to see the world as competition and to cut people off who you think could be competition or take your business. And it's harder to be open and to want others to succeed. And I think it's great that we can have this relationship. And like you said, like, honestly, at first it did kind of burn, and like, that's okay. That's natural. But the work comes in when you remove your ego from it and you really see that we can all win here. We can all make money and inspire each other and push each other to be better.
But with that also comes realizing who not to collaborate with, right? You realize there are certain people that don't think the same way as you, and they're going to go and try to take what you have, replicate what you have, or steal anything you have. So it's just like kind of following your gut instinct or listening to the red flags when you see a person. You're like, okay, they don't have the same values that I have. I'm not going to work with them on anything, you know?
That's so true.
And
at the same time.
Yeah, great point. Because, you know, there are people out there who would see your business model and be like, let's do it. Let's go get their clients, things like that. So I think intention and like knowing people's intentions is huge. And also just being super transparent in your communication. I mean, for everyone listening, like, we had a very honest conversation with each other where we were like, listen, we look up to you and your agency. Like, we would like close down our business before we went and tried to intentionally take one of your clients. And I think it just comes down to communicating that and just being super transparent and vulnerable and being like, we are authentic and we are, you know, people of character, and that's just not how we do business. But there are people. What am I trying to say?
There are people who will do that.
There are people that will do that.
There are people who will do that. Yeah. So just be careful with who you do business with.
100%.
I like what you said about communication, because that's such a big point. And like, I think we could have hated each other easily, but you communicated with me like, hey, you're so honest, and I appreciate it so much, because it takes a lot of courage to be open and vulnerable, like, hey, like, we see what we're doing here, like, want to make you aware. And I appreciated it so much, because anybody else would have just popped up and not given me any awareness, and it would have punched me in the throat. You know, I would have been like, oh damn, like, we're cool, like, we do stuff together, this sucks. But you guys had the courage and the confidence and the respect to be like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're working on. And I value that so much, and it's so rare. So if any advice to anybody listening is like, communicate clearly and always be respectful of the people around you. That's it. Like, just communicate.
I mean, and the same goes for you as well. Like, you were so communicative with us, and that definitely takes courage as well to be like, hey, so what's going on here, you know? Because, you know, a lot of people would just either like cut someone off or, you know,
or be nasty.
Yeah, or be nasty as fuck.
Yeah, and I think it takes both sides to be vulnerable and open and be like, okay, you know, my bad. We didn't see that. You're right. On us. We're still, and also to admit that like we don't know everything, and that we're literally just learning. And like, as long as you're doing your best in that, I think that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Let's get into a few tips about branding, because I know you do offer consulting, which is awesome, because I don't know, I feel like if someone came to me for consulting, I'd be like, Google it. Like, I would Google things and then tell them. So I think that's just amazing that you like have the knowledge and, you know, the background where you can offer that as a part of your business. But if someone is, say, starting a new business, just starting on Instagram, what would you say? And again, this is a loaded question because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, but what would be your like maybe best two or three tips for branding advice?
The first thing that I start with is Rome was not built in a day. Like, nothing, if you want it to be good, it's not going to be done in 5 seconds. It's a work of progress, and it takes time. So when I start with branding, I ask people like, what's your vibe? What are you drawn to? And what's your mission here? Where do you want to be in 10 years from now? If you were explaining what this business is in 10 years, what would you be doing? What would it look like? And that helps me draw up a bigger picture of what kind of logo I should create for them, etc. But when you're first starting a brand, your main things that you need are your brand guidelines and then your logo. So your brand guidelines is your color palette, the fonts you're going to use, the mood board you're going to refer back to, the use and the misuse of your imagery, what color backgrounds are acceptable to shoot on, what are not acceptable to shoot on, what your brand story is, and your key values and your goals. And that's all in one place, and that's what's called the brand guideline. I always start people there because that's something that they can refer back to, as it's literally a guideline for your brand. So you know what you guys abide by, you know what your colors are, and you know what your colors are not. So that's somewhere to start before you even start thinking about logo, because everyone's like, I'm starting a brand, this is the name, this is the logo, and they rush it all out and it looks like shit. They have to redo it a year or 2 years later. You start with that and then you work into your logo. And the reason why you start with branding first is because those fonts that you pick that represent your brand will be used to make your logo. And then everything stays like cohesive and consistent. And those are the 2 key points that I harp on a lot, is consistency and cohesiveness. Like if this doesn't match well together, I'm not even going to touch it, because I won't work with a brand that doesn't understand the value of branding. Like it's not worth it to me. But for someone starting out, like take time building out what your mood board looks like on Pinterest even, or just an album on your phone, or a saved album on Instagram. And once you have that mood board, start creating a color palette off of that, and then find fonts that you feel relatable to, and then just the whole thing kind of goes together. But that's pretty much the key points of getting started with branding.
Cool.
Love that.
Think that's great
advice.
And
do you provide that as a service? Like if someone was like, hey, I don't even know what the fuck this should look like, is that like a collaborative process for you?
Absolutely. So if they have no taste at all, they're like, take the show, go ahead. I'm so happy to do that, because I'll be like, all right, we're making a sick brand, no problem.
Yeah.
Always, regardless, even if they have bad taste, to my judgment, they have to make a Pinterest board with, like, I always say 20 to 25 images, so I can understand what you're drawn to. Save a picture of a shoe, save a picture of a water bottle.
Cool.
I don't know what it is. I want to know what you're drawn to, because that will help me understand your vibe. Is your vibe very like gaudy and glitzy and heavy, or are you very dainty and minimal? So I'll see that based on the images they save, kind of established from there. But I do offer brand guidelines and branding, which is so important for the life of a brand.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that's so valuable.
That's
I think
great
a lot
advice.
of people start a business without that.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just as on the consumer side, like I can tell when I find a brand's Instagram if they have that brand guideline or if they don't, like off the bat.
You can see, like, you'll see based on like their branding colors are purple and stuff, but you'll see a bunch of like neon orange and neon green. You're like, where did this even come from? That's because they had no guideline to follow.
That's my worst nightmare.
Or
yes, oh my God.
yeah, or the fonts don't match on things, and you're like, you almost can't even put like, you don't know what it is, but you're like, something about this is off.
Exactly, or they're using 18 different fonts. But the reason why people pick fonts and they pick branding is because branding is psychology, and a lot of people like that is that if you're a recyclable brand, what color do you guys think of? For instance? Green. Okay, green, earth, and that's like sustainability. You like instantly think of those things. So their logo and their branding would introduce green, because I need people, when they see it, that it clicks and it makes sense, and they're like, okay, they're earthy, they recycle. Yeah. So, or like when you think of something that's calming, what color do you guys think of?
That's calming.
Nude.
Oh, blue.
Nude.
Exactly. So blue. So
blue.
if they're a therapy center, I'm gonna put blue, because blue is an instant thing that you're calmed down by. So it's just like taking the psychology of emotions and then making them beautifully aesthetic in branding.
That's like how McDonald's and Burger King are yellow and red.
No, that's literally.
Those
are like, if you take a marketing class, that's like the examples.
Yeah, it's attention grabbing, and it also creates hunger.
It's crazy, because I don't remember when, but a few years back, I actually had like an epiphany moment where I realized the importance of branding. I think I was standing in the aisle of like Publix or something, and I was trying to decide which body wash to get, and I was making a decision based on the branding, thinking that the label would represent the actual like product and quality that's in it. And I realized that, and I'm like, wait, this is crazy. I'm literally making a decision as if the outside label and colors had anything to do with the actual product. Yeah. Like we think it does, but it really doesn't. I mean, you could put Dial soap in there and brand it nicely. It would still be Dial soap.
It's just how the brain works and how you absorb things. And that's why I say it is literally psychology, because and also keeping things clean and consistent. I harp on this a lot, because you want someone to go to your brand and they feel calm. Their whole day is crazy and chaotic and things are going on around. They want to look at your brand and be like, oh wow, like it's clean, it makes sense, it's sophisticated, it's simple, I want it. And I harp on being simple over busy, because I know what it does to the mind, just in general for myself. Like if I look at this book, it says ask, it is given. It's a little whatever for me. If I rebranded this, I know I could get thousands of people to go and get it, because it'd be more aesthetically pleasing and calming and interesting, you know?
Yeah, wow.
And I love that you do packaging. Like, you design packaging for brands, and I've always seen it, and it always looks amazing.
So clean.
I do want to touch really quickly on dealing with negative feedback from clients. If you've ever kind of had to go like deal with that, we've had a couple clients that like we were very proud of the product that we provided, and they either were just like, they think that we missed the mark. I mean, personally, we feel like they missed the communication mark.
But taking accountability, so did we.
So did we. So, you know, just like things like that. How do you deal with that negative feedback and kind of not take it personally with your business?
I never take any, like, I literally don't take anything personally in business ever. And if I did, I'd be in the wrong industry. But the way I handle it is to avoid communication errors or avoid unhappiness with my service. I make sure that the mood board is so clear and thorough. And if they provide me with a mood board first, and there's like 8 different styles of shooting where this is natural light, this is in a studio, I make sure that I'm clear. That cannot happen in one shoot. This is outdoors, and this is with bright lighting. This is mood lighting at dusk or whatever, and I make sure I'm very clear what is able to be done. I don't agree to things if I know it's going to come out like shit. Like, I make sure to say no, and if I lose a client because of that, it is better for me because they're going to be in hassle down the line. So I'm very clear about what their outcome is going to be, and I make sure I go in with a plan. Like, I used to just go and shoot randomly and base it on inspiration, but now I'm like, mood board, here's exact examples of lighting that I would like to recreate. And here's a vibe that I'd like there. Here's the props I'd like them on. And I have a proper plan that the client knows about before I go into a shoot. And that helps me a lot. And then dealing with the backlash, because you do have clients where they don't ever really know what they want, and they agree to one thing and then they do a different one. I have a client request form that requires that you put exact examples of what you're expecting, when you'd like it by, and I make them sign off on it. Because it's like, you agreed to this, and that's what I went with. Like, whatever you agreed to and your signature is on, that is what we went with. You can't take it back. This is what you asked for.
Right. You can't change your mind halfway through and be like, actually, I want this.
But before I had this, it was emails back and forth, and I had clients where like, I said this, and my other employee said this, and it's like, I can't have 17 people telling me what they want, because that 17 people have 17 different opinions.
Absolutely.
Form, and that one person is accountable for the decision of the 17 team members, and I will create that.
And I love that. And I mean, that's pretty much exactly what we went through as well. Like, you know, with one specific, you know, client, we had sent a mood board, and or she had sent it, whichever, and we based like our shoot off of the mood board, right? So we nailed like 2 or 3 of like the inspo images out of like 8. And she responded and was like, where are the other 5 inspo shots? And it's like, those were 5 separate shoots, so, you know, and we didn't, I think, correctly communicate, hey, we can't get every single fucking photo, because these are 8 different sets.
Yeah. So when you look back in that, if that was me in that situation, I would have said, hey, this is different lighting. We can do this on a different day in your next batch of content. But I want to be clear that photos A, B, and C, absolutely, we're going to nail it. But the other ones, we can't. I'm sorry. It's a different style for shooting. Because a lot of people that are brands, the reason why they're coming to you is because they don't have the vision and they don't understand. So if you can educate them, you'll avoid issues. And education turns into communication.
Love that.
That helps a lot.
Ooh, love that. We're literally going to send this episode to Caroline and be like, just listen to this and study it. And
yeah, exactly.
And take notes.
This is how we are operating moving forward.
Take notes.
Chime back in on about hiring people as well. When you're bringing them on, make sure you know what your brand guideline is and what your values are and what you stand by and what your story is. Because if you don't have that to provide them with, they're just going to assume off of what they see.
Right. Yeah, so true.
Works out. So you guys need to nail your branding and your brand guideline of what you stand for, so they can clearly understand it as well.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yeah. And that's hard when you're a small business and you're like one person, because you kind of like are, you know, handling it as you go. And unfortunately, we have each other to like have established that. But yeah, before we hired Caroline, we put into production a standard operating procedure so that she could kind of just come right in and see,
which we realized we needed, because I'm like, and it's funny because in our last episode last week we were like talking about everything that we've learned so far, like without having gone to business school, and we're like, we're sure they teach a whole course on standard operating procedures, but we literally were just like, we need something that tells people how we do business.
Yeah, like some little chart or some shit.
And then I like look it up and I'm like, oh, that's an SOP. Got it. Okay,
that's like an actual thing. Got it.
And then also just having like flow charts of when the client sends an inquiry, what happens next, and break what that exact process looks like.
Yeah.
And it saves you so much time. And I'm honestly only working on this now because we're kind of just winging it. And then I realized when you have team members, you can't just wing it because you fall on. So it's good to break that down. So it's good that you guys are.
I mean, that was a huge thing for us as well. Like at one point, our assistant asked, like,
"What's the next step?"
She goes, "What's the next step for this client?" I was like, "You don't know the next fucking step." Yeah.
All right.
But we realized that was on us for not, implementing that. But actually, that leads me to another quick question. I just have a bunch of quick questions. But so do you use a platform that helps you stay organized? Like, for example, we use Trello, and that's kind of how we keep like those flow charts organized.
That's task management, right?
Do you use a task management?
I have
project management.
So right now I have a CRM, so client relationship manager, and I use Honeybook, and that helps me keep my clients in order, but it's not that wonderful. Whereas there's other platforms that might add more, but you have to have various different ones. You have to have your internal group chats like Slack or on WhatsApp, so you guys can stay up to date on you can have different chat rooms for different clients, and that helps a lot as well. Monday.com is really good for taking control of tasks, but there's no perfect system for managing everything. There's so much room for error when you're
make one,
because clients they're all so different and it's so custom. But having a CRM to manage your clients so they know where they stand with you, they can also sign their contracts there and they can pay their invoices there. And then having your task manager separately for managing your team, and then the Slack group chats or the WhatsApp group chats to stay accountable for things.
Yeah, and actually that's funny that you mentioned Slack, because when I used to like work in marketing and whatnot, we always had Slack channels, and I did love it, but I've actually been coming across this issue because it's like Olivia and I have a chat. We have a chat with just Kennedy for the whiskey and water stuff, and now we have a chat with Kennedy and Caroline for the mood stuff, and like things I feel like are just going to start to lose, like we're just going to start losing track of stuff. So
and it's all going to like fall into different areas. So if you guys can go to Slack and have mood chat and then have whiskey and water chat, your life will get immensely easier.
Also, it's a separation of like the work from the text.
Yeah, like I'm trying to text my sister back or my mom back in the same message that I'm like talking about work in the same app, it's just like, it's too much.
If you can just keep your personal life on your phone, that would be another thing that I would highly recommend, because nothing was worse for me than a couple months. I've finally got it under control, but a couple months back, I would get clients texting me at 2:00 in the morning thinking it was respectable. And
that's what we are going through right freaking now.
But it's also your own fault because you enabled that. You allowed that. You responded to a text at 10 p.m. and you set that standard for them.
Absolutely.
Because people follow whatever standards you create.
Yeah.
So if you can go and say, these are our standard operating hours, this is the times that we'll get back to you. If it is urgent, you can text us, but please understand that text messages that are urgent won't get seen to for 12 hours, up to 12 hours. If you can set that standard and also give a welcome packet when people come on so they know what to expect when they work with you. It really saves a problem, but you also have to make sure you abide by your own rules.
Yeah. Right.
Standard, and then go and send them a text back at 9 p.m.
Totally. Yeah, because people will. You give an inch and they will take a mile. I totally agree. People treat you how you allow them. And if you do answer it at 12 at night or on a Sunday when you don't want to be working, they're going to keep texting you on the Sunday. Like the conversation won't just end there.
I also saw that you did a recent collaboration and created this super, super cute hoodie with Sonder. And so I would love to talk about that and just kind of like the power of collaborations.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sonder, it's Sandoval Sonder. She's one of my good friends. Her name's Lindsay Miller. She's freaking incredible. Another person that absolutely aligns with my values, and she's just new and growing. And I'm like, why don't we just make a sick hoodie? It's tone, it's neutral, but it's also got like some dope graphic that you're going to create in the back, but it's also our saying about all you need to be is impactful. So we just threw that together literally in a couple minutes, and we're like, well, let's get this shit out. And if we don't sell it, we'll just give them to our clients because they'll be repping Sonder and Tone. But the main purpose that I wanted to collaborate is she's just getting started And I believe my network is my net worth. And if I can share my net worth with my friends, I'm fucking going to. So collaborating comes down to helping other people get to your audience. Just like we're doing now, we're having a collaboration here, and my viewers will see what we're talking about and yours will do the same, and we'll have a nice mishmash of possible potential opportunities. So I always say to my clients, if you can collaborate, do it. The best way to grow your brand is realizing that there's not a competition anywhere. Collaborate someone who has the same values as you, but maybe they're in a different industry. So she's in clothing and I'm in branding. It's cool to put a collab because tone is all neutral vibes, but we can also do something sick together. Or like a skincare line, if they really love let's say a bag company, they can make a cool thing that's like YSL X Summer Fridays, and that little piece could perfectly fit into a certain compartment in that purse. And it's cool. It's something exclusive, but it's also nice because two audiences see something different and can be enticed by another industry, which is really cool too.
I always love those types of collaborations that like you would never expect, but it's like, wait, this is so fucking sick.
Yeah. But like, I think it was like J Balvin and Travis Scott did a collaboration with McDonald's. Like, what the hell does a rapper have to do with a hamburger? Nothing. Yeah. But like, they made it cool, and all of their fans then went to McDonald's and ordered this meal because they're like, this is sick.
Yeah, the Travie Patty.
I agree. We definitely want to do some sort of collaboration with either bathing suit line or clothing line, and just do like a little edit, because I think that'd be so fun. And it's cool because you both get to experience, you get to dabble in like something that you don't always do, you know?
Exactly.
Keeps you sharp.
100%. And then you learn something with working with them as well about how their operations are versus how yours are.
Totally.
And you can help give ideas, and maybe you see something that they don't see because they have a biased opinion because they're surrounded by the same creatives every day.
That's so true.
There are different creative input that can merge together, and like all of those creative brains, like nothing but good things are going to come out of it.
Yes.
And
out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. And I feel like you definitely nailed this collab. Like, I love the hoodie. Yes. I will be getting one.
It's sick.
But I would love to talk about like what's next for you, because I feel like I know that this like just like there's so much more in store for you, and I also feel like you would just kill a brand. So I would love to know like
or anything you do. Like, I have complete confidence that you will absolutely murder anything you do.
Just a murderer, you know. What am I?
Just a murderer.
But no. So what's next is I have a lot of things in mind, but I always think of like toned skin, because skin tone backwards, but toned skin being like a skincare line would be pretty dope. But I'm 100% on it, because my goals for my future are to be able to travel the world and just help other people create. And you put yourself in a box, and you can only have so many hours in the day when you have a brand sometimes. So I'd rather just like help multiple brands grow just with my creative ideas. And I get bored easily as well. So if I start something like a brand, I might get sick of it. Whereas when I'm doing tone, I love it so much because I'm able to be creative in every different industry, and I'm not stuck in one little box. So I'll definitely be working on collabs like Tone Skin, maybe Summer Fridays, I'm obsessed with them. Or
it's so funny. I tried their mask yesterday, like for the first time, and I was like, I understand the hype.
Yeah, and the packaging. Bomb.
So good.
They kill it.
So good.
I could see you totally killing a skincare line, just saying.
Yeah, totally. And I'm obsessed with skincare, so
I mean, look at that skin. She's glowing.
She's glowing.
Period.
Hey. We love a glowing queen.
Yeah.
I do happen to follow Siobhan Ayla. She's an influencer, a blogger.
Oh, and she does a lot of collab stuff too.
She actually has her own brand called Tan Lines, but she came out with skincare recently, and I feel like you would really love her branding. So go check out her stuff.
I follow her because I actually like love the fonts she uses on everything.
She fucking kills it. Her and her team kill it. But her skincare line particularly, I could see you doing something similar in just the way she markets, and her like she has like tanning drops, and just her photography. I feel like you would really resonate with her whole branding, so go check her out.
I love a good bronze moment.
Yes.
And then also another thing I want to chime in on is I was listening to a podcast with the owner from Summer Fridays, and she was asking, I don't know who this awesome woman was, but she was this question, and this woman said, I will not take opportunities that don't align with my end goal, and saying no is so important, and staying true to your highest self. Like, if you have a brand or a client or anything that comes up to you with an opportunity and you don't align with where they're going and it's not getting you to your end goal, say fucking no. Like, say no to things that you don't align with at all. Money's great and all, but your morals are more important.
Could not agree more.
Love that.
I can already think of a client we've had in the past where there was a little discrepancy on the model choices, and we were kind of like, that's not our vibe. We're gonna have to not continue that partnership.
Yeah, that was rough.
You guys are about inclusivity of skin colors and
sizes,
orientation, sizes, everything.
Yeah.
And you get somebody that is looking at them like, we don't really care for that. That's not our audience. Don't bother.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we had to say deuces.
Peace. Exactly. And you can't put your name on anything that's going to make you look bad. It doesn't align with you because that's stuff is public.
I mean, not to mention like your personal integrity. Like, you know, that takes a toll on like, you know, yourself, and you know, you want to produce work that you're proud of and you know that you are confident in.
And I don't know if this quote actually exists, but I swear I invented it like 7 years ago, and I hope I actually did. But it's the only place that money should come before your morals is in the dictionary. So money should never come before your core values and your morals. You should always stand true to what you stand for. And that other saying that goes with that is, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything.
Yeah, I love that.
So good. We love the quotes.
We do.
They make us happy.
Tone quotes coming soon.
Tone quotes.
Yeah, literally. You should make like a coffee table book.
Write it down.
I'm so into that. Yeah. Coffee table books are all the rage.
They are. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up with a few last questions before we let you go. The first being, and we ask every guest this on the show, and it's always so great hearing their answers. The first question is, what would be your best biz pro tip? And this could be something huge, a mindset thing, could be something small, or like an app you swear by, literally whatever.
It would probably be reading this book by Joe Dispenza, and it's called Becoming Supernatural. It helps you understand how the brain works and your emotions, and like kind of tells you how to shut them down and how to be present. And it's super valuable. If you go and read it, it'll change your mindset immensely. Like who I was a month ago I don't even know who that bitch is. Like I'm so different after reading this book, honestly.
I feel that.
Dude, and I've never heard of that book. I'm so excited.
I've heard of Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Highly recommend it.
Dope. So we'll read that. Okay, wonderful. And then our next question is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Probably what I said earlier, which is work on the business and not in the business. It allows you to find balance in your life, and it allows you to better delegate and not to hit a burnout. Because when you delegate, you give yourself more time to either spend time with friends or work on your self-growth or think of other creative ideas to build your business more or other opportunities. Whereas when you're working on the business day in, day out, there's no time for growth.
Yeah, so good. And I'm going to sneak a third question in there because you've mentioned that you listen to a lot of podcasts. I always like to see what podcasts people are listening to. So what would you say your favorite 2 or 3 podcasts are that you like swear by?
So I used to listen to Champagne Diet. I forget that's her name on Instagram, but I forget the name of her podcast. But I like to listen to her like first 40 episodes because like she was in like a really good growth wave, which is kind of where we're at now. So I like to hear when people are at the same kind of stage in their life. But also I don't have like a set podcast. It's mainly listening to like Jim Rohn, his last name's Rohn, on YouTube. Like I said, he passed away, but his advice, it's literally advice from 1998, but it's so freaking valuable about basically staying true to yourself, how to be accountable. Just a lot of the quotes I recited to you guys today comes from him. And then listening to Joe Dispenza, like they're really, really valuable, and always find a mentor. Like anyone that you align with, basically, I'd recommend.
So cool. Love
Wonderful.
it.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today. Everything I feel like we could sit here and talk just forever. And we really admire you and look up to you so much as a leader, as a woman, as a friend. And we're just so thankful that you're in our circle and that we're in yours. And
stay tuned for a Mood X Tone collab, baby.
Our collab is coming. That is coming. I'm so grateful for the time to talk with you guys as well. Like it's so nice to sit back and talk with people that think the way you think and are working in the same industry as you, because nothing's better than being able to relate to someone. So I really
love that.
Absolutely. If people want to follow you and your journey and learn more about you, where can they follow you and Tone at?
Yeah, so my personal is it's Abi Hall or at Tone the Agency, and my page is pretty boring and bland because I like to be secret, but Tone the Agency is pretty exciting and neutral. So hey.
I love,
wonderful.
And I also love your bio on your personal one. And you're like, my page looks like shit because I'm busy building other brands.
Exactly.
I love that.
I kind of have an aesthetic when I have clients to take care of.
I love it. So good. You guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a screenshot, send it to a friend, tag us, whatever you want to do. Show us your love. Let us know you're listening. And we will see you next week for another episode.
Bye, brothers.
Bye, guys.